Like the video and subscribe to our channel right now and get 1 week of amazing luck. Friends and enemies in the animal world tend to be pretty clear-cut. There are some species that just weren't born to get along. But as these unlikely pairs show, even Mother Nature doesn't set things in stone. Who says that orangutans and tigers, dogs and deer, tigers, and beer can't all be friends somehow? From a piglet that becomes a dog's best friend to natural enemies that snuggle down together for every nap, these 15 heart-wrenching relationships are incredible and unforgettable. Number 15. Torque the dog and Shrek the owl. When a tiny baby owl named Shrek was taken from her mother for her safety just 3 days after her birth, a 6-month-old dog named Torque adopted her. If Shrek's mother became annoyed or felt endangered by predators, it was feared that she may consume her first batch of eggs. Consequently, adaptive dad Torque is currently keeping an eye over the unusual bed at the residence of head falconer John Pippen. They can be spotted watching EastEnders and Coronation Street together in the evenings. Shrek is free to move about the house, building up her legs, occasionally cuddling with Torque on the sofa. Torque guards his young feathery friend as they frequently sit outside at Hampshire's New Forest's Ringwood Raptor and Reptile Center. When Shrek, who was then 3 inches tall, was served her dinner of marsh mice and quail in the same room as Torque, the two became friends. Torque kept them close so he could smell her. John thinks that Shrek's early interactions with humans and dogs gave her the best preparation for becoming a display animal at fairs and open days. John added that Torque sometimes exhibits extreme protectiveness and seems to have taken Shrek as his daughter. Number 14. Tinny the dog and Sniffer the wild fox. Whether or not you have watched the classic Disney film The Fox and the Hound, you will like the tale of Tinny the dog and Sniffer the wild fox. From two completely different worlds, two beyond comprehension friends. A dog named Tinny resides in the Norwegian wilderness with its owner and photographer Torgeir Berge. They encountered a wild fox while out for a walk in the woods, which they later named Sniffer. Despite the thousands of years of breeding and social barriers separating them, the two finally became unlikely animal friends. Torgeir Berge now accompanies the adorable friends as they play and rob in the woods. Fortunately, he brings a camera so that the world may see the adventures of his animal companions. The antics of these two lovely creatures serve as a reminder that domesticated animals, which many of us love and respect, can really have more in common with wild animals than we previously realized. Berge's attitude toward Norway's fox fur trade has changed as a result of the experience, and he is now working to help end fox hunting for its fur in Norway. He aims to do this in part by creating a photo book about the pair's adventure titled The Fox and the Dog together with writer Berit Hellberg. Number 13. Milo the dog and Bonedigger the lion. The 500-pound lion Bonedigger and his unusual dachshund friend Milo have been together since the pair was a youngster, in this instance of a rare but genuine friendship. Bonedigger the lion, who is somewhat disabled due to a metabolic bone illness, is always by the side of his small sausage dog friend and his friends Bullet and Angel. At Wynwood, Oklahoma's GW Exotic Animal Park for the past 7 years, the pair have been inseparable. They are being raised by zookeeper John Runke, a double amputee who lost both of his legs in a bungee jump accident. When Milo, Bullet, and Angel notice that the lion is handicapped, they always try to look out for and soothe him. They all embrace, eat raw meat, and play together on the grounds. According to the zookeeper, the relationship between the 500-pound lion and the 11-pound wiener is the only one of its type in the entire world. When Milo attempts to interact with other lions in the park by blowing, it is also evident that he is emulating the line. The two are also quite devoted to their zookeeper, who they playfully run towards whenever they meet him for the first time after a while. Number 13. Bubbles and Bella. The story of Bella the black Labrador and Bubbles the African elephant is an odd one that demonstrates real friendship regardless of size or species. An elephant named Bubble resides in South Carolina, USA, at the Myrtle Beach Safari. She was saved in 1983 from her family's slaughter by poachers who were in search of ivory. while Bella on the other hand is a black Labrador that was left behind by her owner. A contractor was hired to build a pool at the wildlife reserve. Since then, they have become great friends and look so cute together. They both enjoy jumping and playing in the water with Bubbles and throwing the ball for Bella to get and bring back to them. Number 12. Be the Giraffe and Wilma the Ostrich. Because of their time spent together at Busch Gardens in the United States, Bee and Wilma have developed into wonderful individuals. Their friendship isn't forced because they both reside in a massive 65-acre cage. They voluntarily spend time together. The zookeepers claim that these two creatures can't get enough of one another. Could they have become close because of their beautiful gaits and long necks? Whatever it was, Wilma the Ostrich and Bee the Giraffe must have met through some sort of supernatural occurrence. Although most animals like to stick to their own species, the 65-acre Serengeti plain that makes up Busch Gardens is home to zebras, rhinoceroses, giraffes, African elephants, and birds. Bee and Wilma, who were both born and raised there, have developed a stronger bond with one another. The opportunity for animal interaction is plentiful in the park, according to Jason Green. He continued by saying that because giraffes and ostriches are naturally curious creatures, they don't hesitate to observe one another. Number 11. Fred the Labrador and Dennis the Duckling. Things appeared gloomy and miserable for Dennis the Duckling after a fox mauled her mother. But thankfully Fred, a Labrador, and his owner Jeremy were there to find and save him. Amazingly, the Labrador adopted the duckling right away and started using its tongue to clean the filthy duck. The pair now hang out together, have fun together, and even swim in the neighborhood pond. The pair's residence, Mount Fishett Castle in Essex, is owned by Jeremy, who represents Fred as a modern stay-at-home father to the duckling. Dennis gets up on top of Fred to cuddle with him at night, and the two of them even go swimming together, though Fred swims with a bit less elegance. Justin said because he was raised in a caring atmosphere, Fred has a kind nature, and he always adopts orphans. Jeremy and his family have owned Mount Fincher Castle for almost 40 years. It is a renovated Norman building that houses hundreds of rescued animals. He once took over caring for Lupin, a fallow deer, when she was a young child. Jeremy jokingly said that because of the amount of adoration Fred shows to Dennis, he wouldn't be surprised if the ducks start barking and chasing cats. Number 10. Mty the Wild Boore Piglet and Candy the Dog. Mty might be the luckiest wild boar on the planet. The Dollhouse family discovered him starving in a remote Greek home in Germany. His mother had evidently abandoned the weeks-old piglet, and he had undoubtedly had a rough start to life. Fortunately, he was adopted by the Dollhouse family, who bottle-fed him and made him friends with Candy, the family's Jack Russell Terrier. The two were said to play together every day. They enjoyed themselves in the bushes while playing hide-and-seek and generally had a great time. The small pig was also claimed to be learning how to bark in order to communicate with the goodies. According to what we know now, Mty and his Frank Candy are getting along just great. He will either stay with his new family or be transferred to a wildlife park. Number 9. Cat and the Fox. Locals in Vaughan, Turkey wouldn't think that a fox and a cat they observed while chowing down on some leftover fish would end up being the best of friends. The couple was first seen in 2011 in Lake Vaughan. Since then, curious anglers have stated that the two are inseparable and have developed their burgeoning romance. The fishermen continued to feed the couple as they watched them interact and enjoy fun together. Number 8. Seria the Orangutan and Roscoe the Blue Tick Hound. At a reserve for endangered animals, Seria the Orangutan and Roscoe the Blue Tick Dog encountered each other and struck up an incredible connection. When Roscoe followed a worker of the Institute of Severely Endangered and Rare Species tigers as they made their way home in Myrtle Beach, they eventually crossed paths. Seria noticed him right away and gently approached to pet the dog. Roscoe was a thin and lost dog brought into the reserve to be fed and cared for, according to Dr. Bhagavan Antal, the reserve's founder. Roscoe and Seria made eye contact and began playing as soon as they entered the gates, according to their expectation that someone would eventually arrive to claim the dog. Dr. Bhagavan also mentioned how dogs and primates typically avoid one another because of their fear of the latter. They now play and swim together, and Seria occasionally walks Roscoe. A picture book featuring the pals' unique bond has been published. As they signed copies of the new book at a bookstore in Georgetown, South Carolina, young fans surrounded them. Number 7. The Deer and the Rabbit. Tanya Ascani, an animal scientist and photographer, noticed the duo while photographing images in the woods. Their connection is something out of the beloved Disney film Bambi. Although the reasons of their apparent friendship are unknown, there is undoubtedly more to these animals than what is obvious from Scotty's photos of them cuddling up. Number 6. In Jana the Chimpanzee and Tiger Cubs. After 2 white tiger kittens lost sight of their mother due to flooding in their sanctuary, they discovered the most unlikely surrogate mother in chimpanzee in Jana, who took on the responsibility of raising the kids. At the South Carolina Institute of Greatly Endangered and Rare Species Tigers, the 2-year-old chimpanzee assisted zookeeper China York in caring for the cubs, which were then 21 days old. The cubs became inseparable from their new motherly figures after being placed with animal caretaker China and their chimpanzee friend Jana. Since helping China care for and raise baby animals when she was very young, Jana is no beginner when it comes to nurturing young animals. Number 5. Cassie the Cheetah and Mty the Labrador. We've already told you 2 stories of Labradors who have developed ties of compassion with other animals. This breed of dog has the biggest heart, it can be said. Here is another tale of a Labrador named Mty and a cheetah he knew when they were young. At most 3 months old, Cassie the Cheetah and Mty the Labrador were brought together in April 2011 and raised in the cheetah enclosure at Busch Gardens, Tampa, Florida. Since then, they've enjoyed their days frolicking around carefree. The two have gained notoriety after amazing photos of their odd but heartwarming friendship showed them to be best buddies for life. But when Cassie was returned to his species, nature eventually took its course. He started to spend less time with his friend Mty. He was more drawn to a group of young female cheetahs that lived in the same pen as them, prompting his handler to gradually introduce him to Jana as a potential mate due to her laid-back personality. Number 4. Anthony the Lion and Riley the Coyote. When Riley the Coyote and Anthony the Lion were just 1 month old, they first met at Keepers of the Wild, an Arizona shelter for exotic animals. Riley was saved by the Arizona Game and Fish Department, and Anthony was taken there as a sick cub after being sold at auction in Virginia. Because lions and coyotes are gregarious creatures, Anthony and Riley quickly became close friends. During naps, they would play groom each other and keep watch over one another. Riley and Anthony had such severe separation anxiety that any time Anthony had to leave the sanctuary for surgery for a congenital defect, Riley would go with him. Without the other there, neither would eat. Their bond was so strong that it was depicted on the PBS nature program Animal Odd Couples. Sadly, Anthony went away a few years later, and Riley now spends her days in the sanctuary with another coyote. Number 3. Kate the Great Dane and Pippen the Deer. This is a bond that was sparked when Isabel Springett discovered a fawn as a newborn in the woods outside her home in ABC's courtroom. She originally left the fawn where it was in the hopes that the mother deer would come back, but the next day, when she heard the newborn fawn's cries, she took the tiny fawn and placed it on her Great Dane's bed. Kate, who had never had puppies of her own. But after meeting the later named Pippen, Kate's maternal feelings became more apparent. Despite the fact that she had nothing to suckle, she would calmly allow Pippen to do so. As Pippen became older, she would spend the nights in the woods before coming back to Kate. As their friendship deepened, the two transformed from being mother and daughter into best friends. As the two animals played and interacted, Isabel was rather surprised that they altered their natural habits to fit the other. The Springetts were so moved by their narrative that they wrote a book named Kate and Pippen: An Unexpected Love Story. Number 2. Shere Khan, Baloo, and Leo. It is heartwarming to hear the tale of Baloo the bear, Leo the lion, and Shere Khan. The trio was saved from a drug dealer who had severely abused them. The animals were treated after being relocated to a neighboring sanctuary called Noah's Ark Refuge in Locust Grove, Georgia. A harness that had grown into Baloo's skin and resulted in abnormalities had to be surgically removed. The three companions had survived traumatic early years, but because of all they had endured, they grew inseparable in the sanctuary. The three creatures became known as the BLT due to their close friendship. The three animals would interact with one another by licking and head rubbing, eating, sleeping, and playing together. After a few years, age-related health problems developed, and the trio split into a pair in 2016 when Leo passed away from several liver tumors. 2 years later, Shere Khan passed away in the arms of his primary caretaker as Baloo watched helplessly. Shere Khan was known as the most aggressive of the group, and he enjoyed mockingly pouncing on and cooing his friends. The sanctuary therefore made it a major priority to prevent Baloo from suffering a catastrophic reaction to the loss of his friend as well. They keep a close eye on him to prevent him from experiencing any negative psychological or bodily effects after losing his last brother. Number 1. Mabel the chicken and the puppies. After being saved from the pot due to a foot injury, Mabel found a new wonder when she was moved into her owner's home, Puppies. For some reason, the year-old hen has taken to roosting on the puppies and keeping them warm while their mother prefers the yard.